Hey folks, I'm Red and this is my Watcher of Realms channel. This is the free-to-play series. We're on the main account and I thought I'd do a little bit more in Malrik's Hall of Illusions. And this is because there's kind of one basic strategy that you need for these levels, especially on level 1. So the way this seems to work is that level 1 gemstones or trials are relatively straightforward. As you get up in the levels, things increase in terms of the number of mobs that you have at one time. But the basic strategy, even all the way up through mythic, if I insert this over here, is basically that you need a particular kind of team. You need ground units who can do a lot of damage, so AoE damage, and then you need some people who can keep them alive. So these are healers, basically, is what you need. So that's kind of the basic strategy. You have people, mobs coming out of these 4 areas, and sometimes this 5th area, or this area, 6th area, and you need a lot of really good damage to take them down, and you need a couple defenders. So let me just go ahead and challenge this. You also have to keep in mind which are the special units that are spawning. So here we have suicides that spawn at position 4. So if we look over here, we've got position 4 is basically over here somewhere. And so you need someone who can take care of those suicides and keep them from destroying your tanks. So I like to kind of go with this this team comp here with a Decimus if I'm facing those guys. If I'm not facing those guys, I'll just bring in another damage dealer or a tank that I can sub in. And then I have my 2 tanks here. I've got Olag and Isolde. And then I've got an extra damage dealer who I could probably replace with maybe another healer or another tank. So either when you get to the higher stages, you either need multiple tanks who can keep the mobs off you while you are hitting them really hard, or you need more damage. So Hex is not really the best for this. If I had like a Nyx, that would be amazing. I don't, so this is kind of what I've gone with. Someone like Ingrid isn't really very useful here, unless you're just using her as a in her non-damage form, basically the single target form. You really need AoE damage. Yeah, and I just find I need at least 2 healers, and I think I don't need as much rage regen, so I'm going to swap her out for Faircy. See if that will help me with survival. Let's go ahead and get him here. And another good hero to use here in the chaotic faction would be in terms of damage or defenders would be someone like a Gon. Okay, so if you've got Gon, that might be worth keeping in mind. You need tanks who will survive, and then you need AoE long-range fighters. So I've got Ardea and I've got my Valk, and so they're the ones that I'm mainly using. So let me show you how this kind of works. I've got my team here, and you just have to keep an eye on those suicide guys. I think I will take Hex out, and I'll put in someone who does more kind of AoE damage. So maybe I'll put in, or maybe I'll put in another healer. That's probably a better idea actually, to put in some heals, extra heals. So let me just go ahead and do that. I'll put in Hollow, get a bit more rage regen, and go with that. So there we go. So I like to use a ground unit who has range. So someone like Aracha is pretty good for that. But I could also bring in someone else with a Lord skill that would be maybe a little bit more helpful. I don't know. Anyway, I'll go ahead and try this, and let's see if it can work. The other person would be instead of Hollow, maybe I would bring in Defender who also heals, like a Constance. That might be a little bit better, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So let's try this, and we'll see if it works. So I like to put Isolde down here, and then my Valk here, and then I'll put in maybe someone like this guy to do a bit more damage, and then I'll put in a healer down here. And so Elowin can cover everyone in these two areas, which is quite nice. And then someone like Fercy, I'll face down, and then I'll put a tank on this side. So I find that Olag works quite well here. I put him here, and then I put Ardea behind right here, because then she can hit a lot farther. She has enough range to hit units that sometimes kind of stop right here. So that's usually what I do for that. So yeah, go ahead and put her here. And you can see this bottom lane is being taken care of perfectly fine. I haven't needed to use any ultimates. And this is a mythic level, right? So the keystones, what matters more is whether it's level 1, 2, or 3 is what I found, not whether the level is mythic or legendary or whatever. So that doesn't seem to be as important from what I can tell. Okay, and then it's just a matter of surviving all the mobs. So that's kind of the trick here. And to kind of help out with that, I'll probably put, okay, so here we have our suicides, and I want Decimus to kind of go and block them before anyone else comes in. So here I'll put this guy, block those guys, and then I'll bring him out. Okay, so wherever they kind of appear is where I want my my Decimus to go. All right, so I'll put Aracha here because she's got a bit more range on the side, and then she can help to get rid of, because I find that the mobs tend to cluster at the top, and that's where I need more damage. So Fercy can help a bit with that, with inspiration, and so can our Constance there, and then everyone else is just, yeah. So here you can see Decimus is ready again. I'll put him in here to block the suicides. He survives long enough to explode both of them, and then I'll bring him out. Okay, so that's the basic strategy that I found to work. You just have some good damage dealers on both sides, kind of stack everyone. This way you have some decent healing. And then you just keep everyone going. So here we go. And I'll just speed this up. Here's Decimus again. Bring him out. Okay, and when you hit around 100 mobs, that's when it starts to get a little bit dicey, so I'll probably slow it down at that point. Because then you really have to keep everyone alive, because you're just having a lot of people coming in to hit you. Okay. Okay, so let's see how this goes. There we go. And rinse and repeat. So my heroes are quite well built, I will admit that. So that may be why they're able to handle these mythic stages relatively easily, but I find that, you know, even on the blue stage 3, this is not quite enough damage or healing or whatever. So that's definitely a concern. So something I'm trying to figure out right now is how to handle that, how to deal with that. And I haven't quite found a solution yet. Basically, I can do those stages, but then I don't get the max rewards. So either I need to really increase the stats on my heroes, or I need to figure out a different strategy. So let's get rid of those guys. Yeah, but you do have to kind of pay attention to some of these mechanics, because if you kind of let these guys explode, for example, over here, then they will reduce healing for some of your allies, and that can just destroy your run. So that's why I like to use a hero like Decimus, because you can place him really far ahead in front and keep them from hurting your other heroes. So here we go. Okay, so getting a decent number of chests here. Not necessarily great value ones, but I found the rewards here are actually not that great. So it's really just total RNG what you get, and the things that you want to get are not dropping very often. So it's not the best kind of result that you would want from this sort of thing. But I think I'll probably talk about that in another video. This is just the basic strategy. Okay, so have some long-range fighters, have some tanks, have some healing, and that's basically it. You can't really use ranged platform units, you know, fighters, or not fighters, but marksmen. You can't really use them in this content, which is kind of annoying. I would have liked to see a few more options. But that is not to be, unfortunately. Okay. That was weird. That is really unfortunate. So I didn't beat him. That's annoying. Oh well. Okay, So I guess I didn't do enough damage to that guy to get him down. I should have probably removed some other people. I guess that's where if you had an extra fighter that you could put him down and block him. But yeah, let's get rewards. You can see they're not great. I mean, I only got 2 of these augmentation gems, and the results are not fabulous, unfortunately. So yeah, but that's the basic strategy. I guess I should have paid attention to the boss and realized that he could just kind of walk through my heroes. I thought I could block him after he resurrected, but I guess not. So didn't do enough damage there. And that was a mythic keystone. So not too difficult, I would say, which is kind of nice. Makes it accessible for players who are not completely in the end game. So yeah, it's good. So yeah, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, but there are definitely some issues I have with this dungeon altogether, with the Hall of Illusions, and I'll talk about that later. But for now, thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.